One of the hardest things to manage as an entrepreneur is the ups and the downs. Today's money could be tomorrow's bankruptcy. Well, our guest today is going to tell you how he took $11,000 in Overstock purchases and changed that into $1 million in Amazon sales. He's also going to tell you how he lost millions in a private equity stock and what he did to combat that. Stick around, Peak Performers Podcast is just around the corner.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast
with your host, Thor Conklin.
Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy.
Today's guest is Tom Shieh, current CEO of CrimCheck, a background screening company, as well as entrepreneur extraordinaire. Tom also worked at IBM for 6 years as a software engineer, has appeared on Fox, Forbes, ABC, NBC, and CBS to talk about his business ventures, and immigrated to the United States in 1985 from Taiwan. If you're looking for a well-rounded, diversified perspective on business and entrepreneurship, you have to hear what Tom has to say.
Tom, thank you very much for joining us today. I am looking forward to this interview. You know, it started. I got to let the audience know how it started. So I'm here in Atlanta. Tom's over in California. And I'm sitting here. It's hot here, so I've got my shirt off. He's got the video on. We've known each other for years now, so I turned the video camera on. He's like, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to do this shirtless? I'm like, I'm definitely not competing with you, man. You have very high standards, as do I, but you've done a better job honing that body. So well done, brother.
Well, I've got 3 young kids, so they push me to keep my body in good shape and with high energy every day. So I'm glad to be on. You're a great man and great friend, and privileged to be here.
Oh man, I thank you very much. You know what I'm looking forward to also is we've known each other for 6, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But I really don't feel like I know a ton about you, a ton about your businesses. So I really want to kind of dig in from the beginning and kind of go on the journey with you of what you've been doing, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And I'm just curious and looking forward to getting to know my friend better. So let's start with the beginning. You ended up immigrating here to the country in 1985 from Taiwan?
Correct, from Taiwan. So about 32 years ago, we immigrated to the U.S., came with my 2 brothers and my mother and father. We didn't have much. We literally took everything we had and brought it to the States. Each person was allowed to bring 2 luggages, and we had 10 luggages. Got to the home, and we had 1 king mattress that was on the floor that we all slept on. So started off with very humble beginnings. Delivered newspapers at the age of 6. Literally got up at 2 in the morning with my older brother. My younger brother was too young at the time. I think he was only like 2 years old. But my older brother and I would deliver newspapers. My father worked as a janitor, and that's how we supported ourselves financially to, pay for rent and pay for food. So I didn't know any different. I thought that was what kids at the age of 6 or 7 did, is get up super early in the morning, deliver newspapers with their family. So I didn't know any better. But a couple of years into that, my father it just ate him up. Realizing that, one of his love languages was to provide, and he wasn't providing for us as a family financially like he had envisioned. So he returned back to Taiwan to help provide for our family. And so we saw that as really an opportunity for us as a family to bond very closely, to support one another, take care of one another. As a result, I studied very, very hard. I did the best that I could. I earned as much as I could, saved as much as I could, applied to every possible scholarship that I could. I literally applied to over 100 scholarships my freshman year in college, and continued that pace throughout my college career, and literally kind of piecemealed a full ride scholarship that way. And then I got what I thought was the ideal job at IBM. Had some stock options, a decent signing bonus, and paid much more than I thought that I was originally planning to get. Stayed there for about 6 years, and then my wife got pregnant with our first son, and at 8 months mark, when she was pregnant, 8 months with our first son, I decided that I felt like a caged lion, man. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. There comes a time where you realize as an entrepreneur that you've got different passions, different gifts, and you have this decision that you need to make. And so I made that decision in 2006 to exit corporate America and venture out on my own. And since then, it's been a roller coaster ride. I've made some great decisions and I've made some horrible decisions, but in the process, I've learned a tremendous amount. I've met some awesome people, and I wouldn't trade that experience for the world.
So you went against all the principles, and everything that we talk about here is like, don't quit your job to start your entrepreneurial life, until you actually have some coming in from the entrepreneurial deal. And then your wife is pregnant. Did she want to just kill you?
No, she was. My wife has been super supportive.
She's an angel.
Yeah. There have been times that she wanted to kill me, but not because of me leaving.
Okay, all right, good.
But I did, like you mentioned, I did start a business while I was at IBM. I kind of worked on the weekends, evenings, but we really weren't making much. Maybe $15,000, $20,000. It was a very small fraction of what I was getting paid at IBM. But it wasn't about the money at that point. It was about just, I shared with my wife, I said, look, I feel like I'm this caged lion, and I'm being fed 3 meals a day with things that look like meat and taste like meat, but it doesn't really resemble. It's not really real meat. I'm a lion. I enjoy the thrill of the chase. I'd rather hunt. And even if I were a skinny lion, I'd enjoy, the thrill of the chase, and I enjoy the wind brushing up on my hair, and so she has been supportive. She's been, one of the greatest factors of why I am where I am today.
So let's talk about the first business. Oh, and by the way, I would just want to lay down a note here, okay, for all of you that don't know Tom. I'm sure you're just meeting him for the first time. Tom could sell his company for $100 million, and I'd see him the next day and say, Tom, how are things going? Oh, yeah, we had a really good day yesterday. What happened? Oh, I sold my company. How'd you do? We did pretty good. He has a very, very beautiful demeanor, and he's not running around saying, hey, look at me, look what I've done. But this man's the real deal, and that's why I brought him on the show. So
I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Thank you for being you. So when we're talking about these things, I want you to understand as the audience that, he's not going to be jumping up and down and saying, look at me, look what I've done. But I'm telling you, pay attention. So the first business, when you were working part-time, you're at IBM, you start this little side business. What was it?
It was a bubble tea distribution business. So there is a beverage. I'm not sure if you've ever had it. Bubble tea. Or
yeah,
bubble tea.
All my clients were Vietnamese at one point for 8 years. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So originated from Taiwan, and we weren't finding any shops here, and so I originally did some calculations and thought, we'll open up a shop. Realized that there wasn't the demographic in Denver, Colorado to support those numbers, and so I started a distribution, and we started a online business called Boba Tea Direct in 2002, and quickly grew that. Starting, I think first year we did maybe 11,000 in sales, and then within a couple of years we broke over $1 million in revenue. And I thought, holy cow, if I could do this with some HTML and PayPal, and with some obscure product that many people haven't heard about, what could I do online with other products in different industries? And so I quickly kind of ramped up and scaled up into a lot of different products and industries, selling things like shoes and computers and electronics and apparel and women's high-end purses to furniture to you name it, pet products, anything you could probably think of, we sold. In fact, at one time, I pretty much, I've been selling on Amazon for maybe about 14 years now, actually. And so at one time, we actually took the data feed on Overstock and converted it all up on Amazon. So we had hundreds of thousands of listings on Amazon. This is very, very early in the day. And so that's kind of how I got started and ramped up into the world of internet marketing, e-commerce, and being an entrepreneur.
All right, so let me just make sure I understand what you did. You took Overstock's website, basically. You then put yourself in the middle and then listed them on Amazon. So when the sale happened on Amazon, it came through your pay site, and then you basically fulfilled it through Overstock?
Exactly. So basically, I was noticing, I mean, just as an average consumer myself, that I had purchased things, more things from Overstock just because of the discounts. And so they boast of savings, between 70 to 80%. And a lot of their things were, obviously overstocked on clearance. And so I had contacted their affiliate manager and asked them if I could use their product description and images. They gave me their entire data feed. They gave me a percentage of commission on sales, and then I applied to Overstock's credit card, got free shipping. And then I looked on Amazon and noticed that the same products were selling for a lot more on Amazon. So I wrote cost me, I actually outsourced it. I had somebody for about $300 convert the data feed from Overstock into Amazon's input. And then in a matter of hours, I had hundreds of thousands of listings. And when it took off, man, I tell you, if that setup could have just gone a little bit longer, things would have worked out very, very well. But very, very short after I was shut down. I mean, I was basically hiring people to process orders. I was making some pretty good money.
That is unbelievable. So who got mad, Amazon or Overstock?
Overstock did.
Really?
Yeah, they did. We were processing tons of orders with them. Their legal department had contacted Amazon. Amazon's representative told me, "Hey Tom, if you could work it out, we'd love this relationship. You've been great, and we'd love to keep you." And I told them, "Oh, don't worry about it. Let me go talk to Overstock. I got everything in writing. They said that I could use their images and products, and I could fulfill these orders." I checked some terms and conditions, and I talked to them, and I'm getting no response. Meanwhile, I'm reading terms and conditions. Appears that things have shifted a little bit, and then I can't even log into my account anymore because they've banned me. Long story short, I go through a number of different options and things that I consider. Eventually, I realized that avenue with Overstock and Amazon just wasn't going to work. They didn't quite like to play with each other in that regard. And so I was able to set it up in a number of different ways, but that kind of gave me a taste of how powerful the internet was and the trend in online shopping.
All right, so fascinating story. I love that. What was the next step?
So the next step then was to really start looking for different industries. So I sold perfume, I sold DVDs, I sold pet products, like I mentioned, and trying to find products that
let me stop you there for a second, just so we can follow along with it. This is really interesting. So you went out and you would set up your own website, and then you find a product and then set up a website for it, or you just find a product you're selling on Amazon? How specifically were you doing it?
So what I would do is I would first start off with the vendor, because it comes down to finding the source. I mean, people are doing it now. And it's become, everybody and their moms are now offering, Amazon courses, teaching people how to do similar things. But, back when I did it in, 15 years ago, there was no course. That it was just purely just identifying and seeing the gap. But what I would do is I'd find a product or an industry that had a good product or good manufacturer. I would establish some base prices that were competitive. And then work exclusively with products that I felt like were popular. In other words, I wasn't, interested in trying to introduce the next product, but I was interested in distributing products that were already popular. And then I would list them on Amazon first and build a vast kind of client base and momentum and a sales rank. And then if needed, I would set up a website. But, with how things were going, you didn't really, selling on eBay and Walmart and buy.com and Amazon, you didn't even need a website. You would just be able to create some software and list one product and list it across multiple platforms and sell that product, leveraging the websites and the sales efforts and the marketing and the SEO that those big companies have already utilized. So only rarely did I ever set up my own website. I was really just piggybacking off the power of the bigger companies.
And you weren't taking possession of the products. You were just basically having them drop ship it right to the client?
Yeah, I did both. So initially I just drop shipped because, I didn't have money. I was bootstrapping everything. I figured I had this $10,000 credit card. If I got some sales and got some money, I can, buy it from this other company that would drop ship it for me, and then I would have 30 to 45 days to come up with more money to pay for that. So yeah, initially 90% what I did was drop shipping. Eventually, I started taking inventory, taking possession, because I realized that there were some additional strategies, and you put yourself in a position of strength when you actually did kind of control that inventory.
Got it. Okay. Next one. This is great. This entire interview is going to be, okay, then what did you do? Okay, then what did you do?
Yeah.
You're making this really easy.
Yeah. So then I started with one successful niche. I kind of branched off into other niches. And the best niche that we discovered was in the media sector, specifically DVDs. So we would buy these millions of dollars of DVDs. We would inventory, would send it to Amazon FBA. It's called Fulfillment by Amazon. And again, now a lot of these terms are pretty common, but back when we were doing it, was like completely revolutionary. We would then on a good day or a decent day, we would sell about 3,500 orders. There was no way I would be able to process that many. And some of these orders are multiple DVDs. I used to be able to process about 100, 200 a day orders and packages. I realized there's no way that me and my wife and all my friends from church and even my kids were able to keep up with that pace. So we sent it to Amazon for them to fulfill, and grew that business. And then I realized, hey, if I know what I'm doing online, why not acquire some of these businesses? Because it's much easier when you first start a business or first start anything. The first year or two, you're kind of spinning your wheels a little bit. You're trying to figure out if this business model works. You're trying to develop your brand. You're trying to strengthen your vendor relationships and understand what your client needs are. And so, similar to what we were talking about with your podcast, you started 18 months ago, and it's amazing how little by little, like over a course of time, things build. And I was starting to say, hey, there's a trajectory of what I'm doing, but the ramp up time is taking much longer and a lot more effort. Why don't I start going and acquiring some of these businesses and applying what I already know to these businesses? So I started acquiring, some websites and some different businesses. I acquired a coffee company, one of the highest rated forex trading softwares. I acquired a network of daycare sites that sold, ebooks and had a forum and generated some funds and revenue off of advertising. And so I just kind of built up little by little. And at one point, we had well over 100 websites that were revenue generating. And, that number is a little bit skewed, because it really doesn't matter about the number of websites, because anybody nowadays can create a website. But it was cool to see different sources on a daily basis. We sell an ebook here. We sold some shoes here. We sold, 10 bags of coffee here. We sold a license for our software here. And so it was pretty cool. I built up a little smart portfolio businesses, and everything seemed good, and extremely happy, feeling fulfilled. Felt like everything I touched turned into gold. Joined the Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership. Worked with Keith Cunningham. Attended a variety of different seminars. Continued to grow and networked and rubbed shoulders with some terrific, amazing people. I felt like I was on top of the world.
Is there a but coming?
There is. You sense the setup.
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.
Keep an eye out for part 2 of our conversation with Tom, where he tells us the but to his story, as well as asks, do you want to be right or rich? See you next time on another episode of Peak Performers Podcast.